Now, let's watch the tsunami arrive. The worst thing you'll see here is an old couple get washed away. But you won't see what happens to them. But they surely will have died. But what I want you to focus on is communication. Really listen analytically to what happens to communication and what that means for social fabric. It just goes for a minute and a half.
It's coming in. She's coming again. Coming again? Yeah, it's coming again. I'm getting tired. No, finally. Huh? Ready? It's coming in, you ready? It's coming in. What? They're coming in all the other. Put it up there.
So what happens?
That real sense of panic, that heightened arousal, the yelling.
Try not to use the word panic because there isn't any panic there, is there?
I'm trying to describe, I guess.
What we need to keep is panic for a very specific situation that we need to define. But what you really mean is heightened arousal and the activation of survival behaviours.
And then it goes quiet once the...
Yeah. See, why does it go quiet?
I think that was standing. He just stood there and instead of taking it in, almost unable to. Like he's very quiet and very calm.
Yeah.
But everyone else also goes quiet dramatically. The yelling starts stopping. Like,
Why does it all stop?
Well, we go back to dealing with what we're dealing with.
Because other people are irrelevant. It's whether I live or die. Can you see? As the biological survival process kicks in, which it will do as the arousal gets higher and higher, and we recede from our cortex to our hypothalamus and go into automatic instinctive behaviours, we contract in to become a biological survival unit.
Does that matter on the type of relationship? Like if it was a mother-child sibling?
I'm describing it as though debonding. I call this debonding as though it's all or nothing. It isn't. You would say a mother may not debond. And you have that story of the woman who ran out to get her family. As the wave receded, she ran out. So she's not debonding. And people will sacrifice themselves to try and take care of each other. So that's a diagnostic issue. You know, what bonds go and what don't. And, you know, in a family that go through a fire, did they debond from everything or not? And you can hear that if you just listen to them. Listen to their account. You'll know whether they totally debonded. Now, if you follow this through, you see, first of all, he's speaking, transmitting information, symbolic information, in a second language. There's a new wave coming. Then as the arousal increases, he lapses back to first language. Starts speaking
Yeah.
Thai. The sentences become shorter and more urgent. And then there's a point where you get the first shit, shit, shit. And from there on, there is no symbolic communication, that it just yells and single words, warnings, names, presumably. And then it deteriorates. There's screams and yells and it just fades away until there's a moment when the blonde guy might be able to reach the old couple, but because it's not a Hollywood movie, he can't. But he produces a sentence. Can you get them? Or something. And then you get a second shit when he realises, hang on, I'm in trouble. The water's coming in behind. And then he's starting to look after himself. And then you finally get a third shit when he realises he might not survive. And that's the point where his camera drops and is dangling. He's no longer in any social role at all other than survival, because as long as he's photographing, he's in a social role that relates him to other people in another place at another time, doesn't he? And so at the very end, he is debonded from the last vestige of his social fabric, isn't he? Can you see that? Now, what I want to say to you is, when we do that in very high arousal, the question is, does that reverse? And what are the consequences of going into that very unusual state that most people won't have been in before? They won't never have been debonded. Right? So therefore, it's absolutely essential that we first of all assess to what degree did the person debond in the moment, and secondly, how's it going? Are they rebonding? Are they moving back into relationships, picking up the pieces and knitting together their connectedness? Or are things not quite the same?
Wouldn't it also be about the damage that the debonding actually does to that relationship at the time as well? Because you lose that sense of security or trust in the other person if they've violated what you believe that bond should still be, regardless.
Or if you pull my finger off, it's not just a matter of simply poking back in again, is it? So debonding may damage bonding capacity. These are things we have to listen for. And if we just get them to talk to us about what happened and how things are now, listening for this social fabric, it's a different construct than the usual things that go into the emotions. They are secondary, in my opinion, to this social connectedness.